Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm going to make sure we have sound. Give it a minute or two here. We do have sound. Okay. And I got to get my notepad, which I forgot. I'll be right back. Enjoy the lovely spring scene. We might be hearing some sounds. How's everybody? Hi, Kimberly. I actually think that might be one of the Blackhawk helicopters. They're testing them. You know how the sound Doppler, it's like, where is it? Am I gonna see it? Like, it's really close. Can you, I know you guys can hear it. There it is. I don't know if I can show you guys. I don't know if you'll see it. There's two of them. Three, kind of behind the trees. I don't know if you could see them, but there's three Blackhawk helicopters. In case anybody wanted to know. But we're outdoors today. Why not? It's a little chilly, but that's okay. How's everybody doing? Say hello in the chat. Drop me like your vibe. What's your vibe today? I want to hear all about it. My vibe is down to the wire. I'm like, whoo, just getting ready. All right, so we had our excitement with the Blackhawks there. They're functioning. Blaze wants to say hi. Hang on. Come here. He's out here with me. I got his little snuggy bed. Ooh, who's being a baby? Uh-oh, do you see something? No. Okay, so I have his little snuggy bed right here. We'll see how he stays there or doesn't stay there. Let's just see. Okay, deep breath. Kimberly says breaking point. Ooh, that sounds intense. All right, welcome everybody. How are you today? If you are new to the live and you have not yet subscribed, I would love for you to subscribe and become a regular part of our hangouts here at Creators on the Crest. I think that would be pretty exciting, right? So we're having a lot of fun here. I'm going to be prepping the cards as I talk today. In addition to Frequency Fridays, where I come live here on the channel and do collective readings every Friday, 10 a.m. Central, unless otherwise announced, I do offer every other week live Q&A, where you get to come on, you get to ask a question and get your own mini reading. These are on Sunday evenings. The next one is on Ostara or Easter, 4/20, Sunday evening, 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time. So hopefully you can come on there and ask a question. Wow, I'm already feeling the energies. I'm getting warmer. I was really cold when I first started out here. I've got coffee today, not tea. It's that kind of day where I need to wake up. So, yeah, every other Sunday night we have like the coolest community vibe going on there. Kimberly can attest to that. We have a really good time. We would love to have more people come, and you just drop a question in the live chat and you get a mini reading, and it's free, it's fun, it's fabulous, and we would love to see you there. In addition to that, I'm also kind of going live like in an impromptu way. um, it's looking like that Tuesday evenings might be that time. I'm not going to say I'll be live every Tuesday, but I'm sure going to try to do some just mobile lives and just what's the vibe, you know? I just kind of want to do it without a whole lot of planning. A lot of planning goes into everything else. So it might just be nice to have those Tuesdays be like a check in, right? A check in for all of us. So I also do reach out to my viewers and say, what kind of themes do you want to see? And I got some really good feedback this time, which I think we're going to blend into the collective reading today. And then we'll have several breakout readings, and that'll be a lot of fun. So that's what I kind of how I run these. So we're going to kind of chat a little bit, do a collective reading, chat some more, do breakout readings, that kind of thing. It's a real chill vibe. If you haven't said hi in the chat and you would like to, or drop some emojis there next to your chat bar, you have a little heart. You can drop those emojis. Let me know you're there if you don't want to put your name in the chat. But I'd like to know how y'all are feeling. Anna's here. Hello, Anna. Welcome. I did my Tuesday live outside. I got a little bit different angle this time, just because I know the sun is coming up right there, and I had to kind of shift a little bitty bit. But yeah, this that you're seeing here is bald cypress, and it's budding. It takes it a while for the beautiful lush green to get on, and then every fall it turns like a burnt orange color, and all the needles fall off. It's one of the few evergreens that's not evergreen, I guess you could say, right? Bald cypress. They're a very sustainable tree, and that's why we have that one here. Then out front, we have a black gum tree. You know, those balls with the little spikes on them? Except this one is fruitless, so it won't produce those balls that you have to rake up. And, you know, as kids, we used to get those, or sometimes kids get them stuck in their hair and stuff like that, you know, those fun things. But this one won't produce that, but it'll still be lovely. It turns like a lovely kind of a crimson red color in the fall, and it's also blooming. Everything's blooming. My neighbors have a maple here that will be dropping the helicopters. What's your favorite tree? Y'all have a favorite tree? It's hard to pick, isn't it? They're all so beautiful. I love trees. I actually, fun fact about me, I worked as an arborist, certified arborist for a short time in my 20s. Oh, yeah. I learned how to climb. I never really did because it was always like the guys, they were really fast, you know. When a woman like goes to trim a tree, it's going to be delicate and we're going to pick very carefully. I was way too slow for business, let me tell you that. But I got to help drag the brush to the chipper. I got to drive the chipper truck. That was fun, but man, was it a physical workout. It was exhausting. Oh, and I have a tip for the ladies. You see my little flower. So, you know how it's kind of a challenge sometimes for women to relax into their feminine energies in this go, 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 go world. And so we're always kind of in that masculine action. We've got Mars in Cancer right now, right? We're feeling a certain way. Just a little hack is put a little flower in your hair, and just kind of that kind of ups the feminine vibes. So maybe have a little fun with that. This is not a real flower. My daughter gifted me like a pack of little flower hair clips, and so this is one from those packs there. So, oh, good. Oak trees. Yes, they're so strong, and like, you know, they do not break and fracture as easily as maples or the Bradford pears that they love to put up all around where we live here in the Midwest. They're more sturdy oak trees. They're more, you know, hardy, I'd guess I say, for this, at least for this area. Maples are beautiful though. Maples are, I don't have anything against maples. If you're from Canada, do not get mad at me. Okay. I love maple trees. They're gorgeous, right? They're gorgeous. They're beautiful. But they do tend to, when the trunk grows, they tend to split quite a lot, whereas an oak will go more straight up and then at the top have the branches out. I mean, I can see some of them now. Got some lovely bird song today to help relax us. All right. I want to read about, real quick, the message I got from someone who was like, here's something we could talk about on one of these lives, because I was having this conversation with a friend. So I'm going to read it and then we'll get into the collective reading and see how what she mentioned might pertain to today's collective reading. She said, okay, a friend today noted how human interactions have heated up on the planet since COVID, maybe even before. So whether it's customer service, co-workers, friendships, family, legal, ethical issues, neighbors, whatever, everything seems much harder. And I recognize this. She thought it was about a personal spiritual attack toward herself, but I think the whole planet is operating from insanity more than ever before. Getting anyone to behave reasonably in the world today seems unreasonable. So I guess the broad question is whether this cycle is going to pass, get better, get worse before it gets better, and whether there's something that sane people can do in the meanwhile to attract more sane and pleasurable experiences with other humans. Is that another? I think that's a different helicopter. Anyway, back to this. And so it says, is there something sane people can do in the meanwhile to attract more sane experiences for the time being until it passes? Or if not, for how long will we live in these crazy times? Whew. Whew, that's getting into some cycles. That's getting deep. Okay, so we're gonna kind of hold that energy into the main collective reading today before we do breakouts. And you might hear Blaze doing his little thing. But let's look into these energies. So it just feels crazy, right? Do you all feel that? You all feel that? You feel what she's saying and how just when you're out in public sometimes how you'll notice people just aren't behaving in a grounded way. Personally, my initial thoughts on that is that we as humans have become so disconnected from nature, from being outdoors, from being a part of like a more direct relationship with the elements. There's a lot of screen time, there's a lot of video games, there's a lot of television, there's a lot of distraction going on. And I do think that that's part of it. And I think the human psyche understands and knows that that is not sustainable, that is not going to be something that lasts long term. It's a destructive energy, isn't it? So very interesting. We're starting off with the Kawaii Tarot today. I love these little cute little anime cartoonish looking animals. It's a very cute deck. It's very fun. So I wanted to add some lightness to this. Oh, we have Chanley. Hi, Chanley. It's so good to have you back here. Nicole is here. Welcome, Nicole. Oh, yay. Okay. Hello, hello. Make sure, if you haven't already, put a thumbs up on the video if you're enjoying the content. I would love to have that support, and it sends it out to more people in the algorithms, as well as your comments and hitting those emojis. So here we are. We go out and about, we go into public, and the vibe is weird. The energy's off. People are behaving erratically. Is this going to get better? Is this going to balance out? Was one of the questions. And we got, let me see, where does it look better? I feel like it's dark over here. The Justice card, and we got the elephant. It reminds me of, did anyone read those books, Babar, the Babar books when you were little, Babar the elephant? And the elephant is holding the scale with the two bunnies in its trunk. That's so cute. Oh my goodness. And this is, of course, Libra energy, y'all. Tomorrow, I didn't mention this in the intro, tomorrow is the full moon in Libra. So we've got a little bit of that going on, right? Justice card. This tells me that things are going to balance out, that this is part of a larger cycle for humanity. This is part of what is the waxing and the waning of the human experience. And it honestly feels like how I've had people describe it, because even my partner Jason, he'll say, like, I feel like this is the hardest time to be alive. And it is. I do think it is in some ways. But then I think, well, from what I've read, the Dark Ages were pretty bad. There might have been times where physical cleanliness and safety was not as prevalent as it is now. But now we're kind of dealing with things on a spiritual level. And we have a spiritual warfare going on, right? It's not necessarily a physical. There is still that. There is still physical violence. That's something that has to eventually, humans have to evolve out of that kind of a cycle. But then there's the spiritual warfare, and that's what we're up against here. But yes, the answer is yes, it will balance out. I do think that it's going to take a little bit of time, because we got the Seven of Pentacles. Blaze sees a dog there's a nature path, and right now with the trees not being in full bloom, he can see every person walking, every dog on that path. Thank you. We're aware. He's letting us know. Thank you. We're aware. Everybody can hear you. Okay, that's enough. They've passed. So that might happen from time to time, but this is real life. He's just a baby. He doesn't know. He's just what he does. He's just on the lookout. Thank you. It's okay. All right. So the Seven of Coins. So why I said, will this take some time for humanity to evolve through this more dense spiritual, psychological operations and warfare and all of this? Yes, it will. Because look here, we have the cheese. And we all know that the best cheese comes from being aged over time, right? Have you ever had that sharp cheddar cheese that's been aged in a barrel or somewhere? It's like got those beautiful little crystals in it, and it just tastes so yummy and so rich and delicious, right? And the seven, of course, is a number of change. It's a number of things are in flux. Things are moving. We're moving through this. And I love how we have our little, I don't know if that's a sloth. Is that a sloth with the eyes like that? I think it is, because the sloths like to hold on to things. And I just get the message of, like, we need to hold on. We need to hold our positions. We need to continue to hold in our hearts the importance of what it means to be kind, what it means to be respectful to ourselves and to others, and that we are the ones who probably have to care for this process, because we're the ones that are aware of the process, right? Once you know, you can't unknow what you know. And those of you that are showing up here, you have a knowledge and wisdom of these things, and you can't unknow it once you know it. And so then you find yourself in this position to step up and protect what is important. So there's a responsibility applied here or implied here for those of us who understand that these things are going on. So this Seven of Coins, Seven of Pentacles, it's going to take some time. We're definitely going through a cycle. And it is, it's definitely it feels very compressed. It feels very pressurized. There's a lot of polarity involved in this cycle. And it is definitely one that is going to take some time for humanity to evolve through. Will it get worse before it gets better? I really am getting the sense that it depends on the person and it depends on where they are at in their evolutionary development and maturity. I think for some people, it's it's going to be more observational, like they see it happening, but maybe their day-to-day life, it doesn't feel so bad. We got the lovers here. We got love and companionship and a coming together kind of energy here. And so I feel that if one is experiencing this, if they can hold the vibration of love, if they can hold tight to their values and to what's most important and what's in alignment with natural law and wisdom, with they can hold tight to their spirituality and to their inner wisdom and knowing of why things might be going on and that it's part of a larger cycle, I think it's going to be easier for those of us who do have the awareness because we know the reality of what it is. There are people walking around that are in a daze, they're like zombies. I know we've talked about this before, and or at least I've talked with some of you about it before, and what's going on, with people. They just seem like they're not all there. You can see it when people are driving, you can see it when people are walking, you can see it in the energy field, and it's because people are so disconnected. But those of us who hold love as the vibration, you know, it doesn't mean we have to go out and, just willy nilly share our love with everyone and just have no boundaries, right? We have to be careful of that, especially if you're highly sensitive or empathic. The more sensitive you are, the more importance boundaries has in your life, and the more important it is to communicate those and to uphold those. So it doesn't mean we just go out and subject ourselves to all kinds of energies, right? But we hold the vibration of love and respect for ourselves and for the universe and for this human experience wherever we go, and we won't be able to help but make the best choices as a result of that. Now, here we've got what looks like growing around the lovers here is maybe a blueberry bush and maybe some other berries. I wasn't sure if it was tomatoes, but I'm kind of getting this feeling of sweet. Enjoy the sweetness. Let this be a reminder to enjoy the sweetness of life, to enjoy companionship when you find it with others, friendship. When you find the people who understand what you understand, connecting with them and holding tight to those people in your life. You'll look below these two bunnies that are embracing, that there is a volcano erupting underneath them. And so here we are, we're feeling like we're in the fires of transformation along with the collective, right? We're going through our own personal transformations as well. And this tells me that no matter what, in no circumstances would we ever let go of the love that's in our heart. We will protect that. That is sanctified, that's connected to our soul. We will be the people who honor that, who demonstrate that. And it starts with us, right? And the people closest to us. So we have the volcano, we have all of that going on. And at the end of the day, we are going to embrace the light because we know the shadow, right? Because we know the shadow and we've been through it. We're accepting that it's all a part of it. All right, let's get Very interesting. I want to see what the masculine energies are involved with this human collective. What is the masculine right now trying to learn? What are men needing to learn in this experience? I'm going to get a couple cards for what the men are going through and what they need to learn and how they might lead, okay? All right, so we got a couple things here and they're very different. And that's how it is here, right? We live in a universe and on a world of contrasting expressions. So the first thing that men are dealing with is the lack mentality, constantly focusing on what you don't have. Goals are random instead of specific, thinks there isn't enough for everyone, and is fear based. So I would like to commend the masculine for stepping up and being vulnerable enough to show me this in the energies, because this is not the place we want to be, right? Overall. But with all the competition and comparison, right? Who has compared themselves to someone else lately? Or to a goal, maybe something that you have not reached yet, and you've compared your journey or judged your journey based on that? I know I have slipped into that. And when I get in that place in my mind, it's like a spiral, you know? And what does it do? Men are active. Men are meant to be the lead, right? And so when they're slipping into this energy, it's going to make it very difficult for the feminine to fill her cup and to help others with her overflow, right? We have a responsibility to one another as men and women here. So the men are saying, yeah, we're doing this. You know, we're struggling with this. We're dealing with this, and we're aware of this lack mentality. And this is what we have to learn to release. This is what we have to learn to transform and transmute. There's something squawking. There's something squawking nearby. All right. Now, the masculine also is showing passion. It's getting a little hot in here. Woo, all of a sudden. Okay. Now, I really am feeling this energy on multiple levels. Very personally for the masculine, that this has to do with them having more passion and desire in their life, maybe desire toward a specific goal, okay? But also in their relationships. And as the feminine, you know, how could we make the masculine energies, okay, feel rewarded for the hard work that they're doing if they deserve it, right? I'm not talking about men who are abusive, or you know, I know you all are mature enough to know that I'm talking about the healthy masculine here. So how can we make those energies feel rewarded, even if it's us taking a masculine action of some kind, right? And so bringing more passion, aligning with our passion. So the men are saying here we need more passion, but also passion is a very fiery energy. It's very transformative. And so there's something to do with feeling loved and desired that the masculine is craving right now in these circumstances. I know that can be a bit triggering sometimes, but when we're really looking into these energies, remember, I'm looking for the highest and best messages that are going to elevate us. So, the masculine energies that are unevolved and that are immature, they're not going to even understand what I just said, right? They're not going to be in alignment with that. And it's up to all of us to discern those people and how we relate to them in our lives, right? But for the masculine that's working his booty off, right? The one that's doing something for his family, that's providing for his kids, that's stepping up and putting others before himself and trying to educate and trying to share wisdom and knowledge that they've gained. They deserve to be acknowledged and rewarded and loved and feeling those attractive energies of desire. And so that's what the masculine says. Let's see what the feminine says. Teresa's here. Oh my gosh. Good time for me to remind everybody, if you did not catch episode 5 of the Real Life Mages podcast here on my channel with Teresa, it was amazing. Her story is so intriguing, so relatable to women, especially. Obviously, we're women, so Teresa and I think you could really get a lot from her story. Okay, let's see what the feminine wants us to know, what she's experiencing during this very challenging time where the collective behaviors are all out of whack and crazy. The feminine energy is coming in and with an energy of forgiveness. Now, remember, when it comes to forgiveness, right? This is not about it's not about justifying poor behavior from the masculine, from other feminine, just in general, right? It's about freeing yourself. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself from a heavier energy and from betrayal. And this is very interesting. It comes up. Teresa and I discussed this in the podcast. So, maybe if you have time today, check that out if you haven't already. Forgiveness is a really powerful energy if we can get it right. I'm also getting the sense that the feminine, in a lot of ways, has been beating herself up. And there's this element of you have to forgive yourself if you want to feel free and if you want to move forward. The lack of forgiveness of the self, and it's intertwined really powerfully with judgment toward the self. It really factors into those comparison energies that I was mentioning earlier, where we're comparing ourselves to others. That's a stuck energy. And that's also a valid emotional energy and vibration as well, where we feel bitter and we feel angry and we feel misunderstood, right? But the feminine's coming in and saying, I'm willing to go through the challenge of radical self forgiveness and radical forgiveness towards others, because that's what's going to help the world, right? Because we're asking the feminine and masculine, what will help the world hold this vibration of love here that we were shown? This is what the feminine needs to work on. That's just it. And maybe it is a person you need to forgive. Maybe it's yourself thinking you made mistakes. Where are my parents at? Somebody who's a parent. Oh my goodness, how many times you're like, oh, I messed that up. I wish I would have modeled that differently, or I made a mistake there out of, sometimes exhaustion, and you're at your wit's end, right? And you just don't show up for your kid when you need to, right? And you make a mistake, you've got to forgive yourself. I know a lot of mothers who are really tough on themselves about perceived mistakes with their children. But we also have to remember that our children have a soul and have their own authority in the world, that we are their stewards until they're of an age where they can take the reins of adulthood. And so, we have to forgive ourselves. We're up against a lot of things here. We're up against ancestral clearing and healing, which is really powerful and painful. We're up against a lot. And for every mistake we make, just think how much you've actually shielded your child or shielded other members of your family. Some of you protected siblings, younger siblings, from something, right? If you're an older sibling, or you just stood up for your brothers and sisters, think about the ways that you did things right and learn to forgive yourself for the ways that you made a mistake, because you didn't know any better at the time, even if you know better now. My nose is wanting to run. I feel the sadness. I feel the sorrow. I feel the feelings of being upset about that and feeling like she should have done better. That's what the feminine is saying. I should have done better. But what she's also showing us, and it's very interesting that the masculine and feminine both showed what I would perceive to be maybe a less desirable energy and then a more desirable energy. We got abundance, that abundance frequency. If the masculine can break through that lack mentality energy, constantly focusing on what he doesn't have or what's not there, the cup is half empty, the pessimism, right? If he can let that go, the feminine energies can step in, because remember, the masculine's the leader. I'm sorry, that's just, so you got to break through the energies. They're the leader. I know some people don't like to hear it that way, but the masculine is the active, the feminine is the receptive. Once we feel the active making those moves, and this can be within yourself too, we all hold these energies, right? So don't get all caught up in it's like a man and a woman and it's got to be this definition, right? We're going to leave those for your interpretation as they apply to your life. But once the active energies break through, the receptive energies can call this in. It's not about going out and getting it in an active way. It's about attracting it in, feminine, divine feminine, in a receptive manner. And look how fun loving and free she's looking. And I've been talking about those fun loving energies so much. I know I'm definitely, anyone else need to have more fun and more play in their life? Raise your hand. Me, need to relax a little bit more. Anybody need to relax? Like, and just be able to unplug. And she's out in nature. It looks like she might even be on a beach by the ocean and is just letting those lovely ions, penetrate her aura, her energy field, right? Yeah. Yeah. And Jason says soon with a little bit of a face. But here's the trick. You know this, babe, because I've said it now. Soon is, when's that? That's nebulous. When is that? Now. It's about us embodying these energies now. Especially this year, I feel for the feminine, it's been a lot about embodiment. And if we're embodying the energies that are out of phase for us instead of the abundance, if we're stuck in bitterness, if we're stuck in um, scorn and that kind of energy, then it is very hard to call anything in. I mean, show me someone who's stuck in those kind of energies that's calling positive things in, right? That's really calling in those positive things that are the life changers. Because remember, um, the whole statement that I read about before this reading was all about the behavior of people and why. Why is it like this? And can we move through it? And it will balance out, but it's up to us to do the hard work. Busy right now. Yes, I get it. I know some of you are at work. Some of you are multitasking in this moment, but even in your multitasking, can you just take a moment, take a deep breath and call in the energy of abundance, call in the energy of passion, right? For the masculine. Can you call in these energies and what it feels like to be in alignment with that, even for a moment? You don't have to wait for these energies. These are energies. In fact, the best work we can do is learn how to blend them into our everyday life. I've got one cold hand and one warm hand because this one was holding the card up in the wind. Let's get a card to close off this collective reading from the Moonology Oracle. We have the full moon tomorrow. I would like to know, does anybody have a little ritual planned for yourself for the full moon? Is there anything that you might be gifting yourself during this full moon cycle that might, I don't know, play into some of these energies we've just talked about here? Because remember, Libra energies are about bringing things in balance, but we're still feeling a certain way because there's a whole lot of Pisces planetary energies right now. So let's get a card from this Moonology. Oh, I might get two because this one, the first one, feels like a masculine energy. Yes, we see another dog. Yes, very good. Okay, this is really interesting. So there goes my timestamp paper. I did not have that locked down apparently. So we're gonna have to get that in a minute, but for now, I feel like the masculine energies say, be bold and make the first move, a cardinal moon, cardinal signs, right? Cardinal signs Cancer, Capricorn, Libra. This is good for the Libra full moon, and Aries. Be bold and make the first move, a cardinal moon. Now, it doesn't show a full moon in the picture. It's kind of a bit of a waxing crescent, maybe. But this is important for the masculine to understand that action and driving your action with your passion, regardless of those feelings of there's not enough, you're creating enough, right? You're breaking the mold to create enough. And then the feminine says here, your dreams need a practical plan. And it's a full moon in Taurus. We may have one of these coming up. I don't know when, I'd have to look it up. Taurus energy grounds in, and women, we're meant to be releasing the energy of forgiveness and grounding in this abundance, right? Now, abundance is a freer flowing energy, but it has to have that point where we're connected to it. So it's that connection point that the Taurus energy, it's a very grounded energy, it's very earthy, a huge connection to Mother Earth. Some of you might be working with this Taurus energy during this full moon tomorrow. You might be working with the Taurus energy or have Taurus in your chart. I'm a Taurus moon. I know we got another Taurus on here somewhere if she's still listening. Who's got that Tauran energy, right? But it's very powerful. I know it's a bull, but it also reminds me, it's very mama bear kind of energy as well. So it's grounding in and adding some practicality to your receptivity, right? So it doesn't mean you don't have your goals. It doesn't mean you don't have your list and things. You need to combine that, right? It's a tall order with the freedom flow of abundance, right? You can't have one without the other. So, in another episode of Real Life Mages, episode 4, I talked with Christine Michelle, and she is a coach and business and, women's coach. And she talks about the woo and the do. That's the Pisces energy and the Aries energy. And guess when her birthday is? She had this woo and do, and she's talking about woo and do. You need both the woo, that's the abundance, the flow, the receptivity, but you need your plan and you need your action, right? That's the do. Her birthday is directly on the cusp between Pisces and Aries, whatever that 21, 22. And that occurred to me once as I'm sitting in like one of her sessions. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're the woo and the do. That's why, and she's like, oh, yes, that is, because Aries is the do, Pisces is the woo, right? You need it all. You need it both. So I really want to thank Karen, who sent me the question and reflections on conversations that she's had with people. I think it's really important to converse with people of like mind and like heart about things like this and see if we can work through it together. That's what community is about. Okay, give me just one moment. If you need a quick bathroom break, I have to grab my paper that has the timestamps before it blows away. I'm going to get a rock to put on it here. So I'm going to grab that if you need a quick break, and then we'll come back and I'll explain the breakout readings. So it will only take me a moment. Hi. Barking at the other dog. I'm back. I'm back. Thanks for sticking around. Okay, here it is. I got my paper. Blaze is staring at me like, what's going on? And I'm going to make some notes here. So, breakout readings today. I kind of was undecisive about this for a moment. And then what came to me was to do the breakout readings according to colors. Thank you. We see it. It's a different one. He's so vicious and guilty. Jason and I are guilty. He has not been properly trained to respond accordingly. And so our breakout readings today are going to go with colors. And I've got a few. They're not your typical like primary colors. I just kind of tuned into different vibes. So when I say these colors, I'm going to have you guys pop in the chat if any of them might resonate with you. Now, if you have to go or you know, come back later, that's fine. Timestamps will be on for these, but I want to let you know so that you can decide what it might be for you. All right. And the colors are coral, like the beautiful orangey bright color of coral. Might kind of have it in my shirt here a little bit. So coral, if you like that color, sometimes it comes in a deeper red, but I was kind of seeing more of the softer orange. To me, it felt like a slow burning energy. So one breakout reading will be for a coral color group if you're resonating with that. The second color is aquamarine, which would be kind of similar to my bracelet here. This is Caribbean calcite. So that really lighter, you can't quite tell if it's blue, you can't quite tell if it's green. You're not quite sure, but it's beautiful. It kind of reminds you of like a clean ocean water. And then lastly, gold. Gold just went gold. I'm showing up. So gold colors, right? And golden medals, golden earrings, golden whatever. Okay. So that's coming up. Nicole says she's folding laundry. Yep. Multitasking. That's fine. Wearing coral today. So if you happen to be wearing coral, aquamarine, or gold, that's what our breakout readings are going to be. So let me get the timestamp for coral. So for our coral group here, and I have to make sure I put a rock on my paper so it doesn't fly away. We're going to go back into the Kawaii Tarot here, and we're going to see what are the messages that the coral group needs to know about navigating this reality field and the tense and dense times that we're going through. The people who are resonating with the color coral or are wearing coral colors or jewelry or just have a vibe of maybe a slow burning vibe. I was kind of getting a slow burn kind of feeling. What do they need to know? Ooh, so corals, you get the 9 of Wands. You get the 10 of Wands. And you get the World card here. This says to me that while you might be on a slow burn, you are in the midst of transforming yourself through the end of a cycle. Okay? I feel like you're stepping through it. We got the 9 and then the 10. On the 9, the little panda bear is on top of the lollipops, and we have the lollipops here, or the treats, the goodies, right? They look like the ones from Disneyland that you would go and get as a kid, and you know, get all the artificial dye all over your face and whatnot. That's what it reminds me of, right? And then we move into the 10 of Wands, where now our little hedgehog guy, porcupine hedgehog guy, has picked up the lollipops and is carrying them. Now, this indicates kind of a burdensome energy where right now, if you're resonating with the color coral, you may feel a bit burdened by what you know, by the responsibilities that you're carrying. That could be reflected in your personal life, but also in what you consider to be your mission or your purpose. But with the World showing up here, I feel like you are moving through the ending. We have the whale on the crest of the wave. This is a creator on the crest right here. So I call my channel that. This is a creator moving through an ending portal. And I think that is really beautiful. I think that's amazing. Who loves whales too? Oh my gosh, whales are so powerful. They're so wise. There's so much wisdom. So some of the other little animals that are making up the wreath here that I see, just in case some of you are vibing with the animal vibe today, we've got owls, we've got narwhals. What is that? A seahorse? Possibly a seahorse. And then some little sprite thing with like a little mushroom cap that looks like a little fairy or something. So it's really cute. It's a really cute card. But we know that endings and going through ending cycles is not always cute. It's not always fun. Yes, we're there though. We're there doing it, but what you might actually be feeling is the heaviness and the responsibility. Nine of Wands is a card of healing your ancestry. Okay? This has fallen on your shoulders. If you're tuned into Creators on the Crest, if you're tuned into this channel, you are likely aware of the importance that it is to connect with your ancestry and how you carry the memories and the energies in your soul codes and in your blood codes. Like, it is part of you. This is not the kind of energy where we're going to say, we're just going to resign ourselves and say, oh, you know, I'm sick because my mother was sick, or my mother before her, or my father had diabetes, my grandfather had diabetes. I'm going to have, okay, we're going to work on breaking all those cycles, because those imbalances, those ailments are connected to, in many, many, many cases, ancestral patterns as well. So as you're breaking ancestral patterns, I am getting a big feeling that group coral is working on transforming the physical through the energy of fire, and it's being transformed that way. Okay? So this is big work. This right now, you may feel like you're in the fire though, like things are burning, and it's like a slow burn that you may not feel all the time like you can get a reprieve from. But let's get some clarifiers. I want to look at this 9 and 10 of Wands together here, this little progression that you're in with the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot here. These are smaller cards, but they're fun, based on the traditional Rider-Waite. The sun's about to come out. I might have to put my umbrella up. It's about to peek out from around my house here. So we're going to get some clarifiers here. Ooh. We got, in this order, the Empress. I'm going to put her over here. Then the Two of Pentacles. And then the Justice card. Now, this is really interesting. So, what are you meant to remember as you are realizing, oh crap, this family that I was born into is a freaking mess, and I have to heal a lot, right? I've taken up the reins of responsibility for my lineage, and I'm working on connecting with and healing ancestral patterns. You've got to remember that self-care. You've got to remember to love on yourself. You've got to remember to rest, because these are powerful, powerful energies. Whether you're a man or a woman, these are powerful energies, and the Empress would invite us to relax in the garden. Okay? I'm really getting like an interference that, for some of the men listening, this is really hard energy for you to get in. Oh my. Oh my. But have you ever just, if you can imagine a time where maybe you've been sick with like the flu or something, and you just need some nurturing, you need some care. Men, you need some care. You either need to get in a relaxed place or situation. You could go maybe for some body work or a massage, something like that. There's something about you being able to relax and push through any kind of, what's the word? Like judgments about being in this energy or allowing yourself to experience this energy. And this is coming up for men in particular. But this is meant to be like, maybe it's Mother Nature, maybe it's Mother Gaia's warm embrace. Maybe you need to spend some time in the woods, camping for some of you, maybe fishing or something like that for some of you. That kind of energy. Get creative. Yeah, the men are like, what are you talking about? That's a woman's energy. I'm feeling that. But you get to experience, this is where you rejuvenate. This is where you relax, right? We've got this Two of Pentacles here, and this can be an energy where we're trying to land on a decision, we're trying to land on the right action for us or for the people around us, and things just feel out of balance. It's a little bit, you guys remember those little toys? I'm going to date myself, Gen X here. Those little Weeble wobbles, and you'd like the little things, you would punch them down, they pop right back up, or they have that weighted, and then they kind of Weeble wobble. That's what this energy is reminding me of. It's a little unsteady, right? As we're moving through carrying the weight of these ancestral patterns, both men and women, it's a little unsteady for us. And we feel a little topsy turvy at times. And I honestly think this is a good sign when you're feeling this way, because it means you are addressing and you are processing some of these energies. As these energies get released, you may be pulled off a little bit, but to bring yourself back into justice, the balance that you need to be in order to bring yourself into that energy, you're going to have to relax and take care of yourself, right? And that means go into that feminine energy of relaxing, that yin energy, right? For some of you, I'm getting to it. It may be where this process feels a bit shadow worky. We'll put it that way. Shadow worky or shadow quirky, maybe for some of you, where it's like, this is not what I want to be doing, because it does feel heavy, even though it's beautiful work, even though we have all this sweetness, that I'm going to carry forward with me. This is hard work. It's back breaking work. Some of you may be having issues with your back, your spine may feel out of order, out of whack. Some of you may need some remedies for that. Okay, I'm going to fix this umbrella. One moment here. I got to put this up so I don't have to squint. And I have to move the computer for 1 second. There it goes. Okay, there goes Blaze. He sees another person on the path. There we go. Now I won't be have that sun come directly on me here. Okay, so the umbrella's up. Yeah, so balance is implied here. I think we're moving into that energy. So rest assured, this feels very much like the energy of the collective reading, where balance was coming in. Like, things are going to balance out, but we have to do the work, okay? We have to do the work. And so that's what the tarot is showing us. Let's get, Divine Animals Oracle. I know y'all like this deck. If you don't yet like it, you will. Such great images in this. Let's get a card for our coral group. Those resonating with the color vibration of coral, or the actual coral stone itself, or the coral reef. Maybe you're like, I love the coral reef, protect the coral reef. That's good too. Let's get an animal vibe here. We got number 6. Okay, this feels pretty good to me. It's reciprocity, and it's the honeybee. Look at this image. So I'm gonna call to the men here, because remember I said I felt like struggling in embodying that Empress energy. It's maybe a little easier for women to do, because it is a more receptive, relaxing kind of energy, right? But here, I feel that you can do it. Maybe you'll be doing it in a different way. I want to read about reciprocity real quick here and what this might mean. This also implies action with the bees. Bees are very active, especially this time of year. Yeah, so this is about an energy of give and take, okay? And if we make a mistake, we make amends, right? And that's what's coming up for this group, right? Now, you got to make amends with yourself before you make amends with the other people involved, right? But it says here the earth revolves around reciprocity to remain balanced. Remember, we want those justice energies, those Libra energies for this full moon, especially. This is a good time to reflect on these energies and to grow. As humans, we are part of the earth, right? So this applies to us. We have the sacred agreement to be here. Learn to work with others. Hard stuff to do right now. Remember, our whole collective reading was about how hard it is to work with others right now because of the behaviors, the poor customer service. You go in some of these places and the people are absolutely miserable, and I've had it happen where, like, I provide better customer service to the person working behind the desk than they do to me. They're not necessarily mean or bad, they're just kind of there, as well. It's important to learn to communicate effectively. Remember, bees, it's a lot about communication, a lot about communication. And there may be a breakdown in communication. And I think that's what some in this group might be dealing with, struggling with communication. So, anybody having trouble communicating, whether it's with one person or just communicating in general. That's a Gemini energy, communication. I always think of Gemini. I think of the voice. And I just would invite you to think about the different forms of communication. So if it's not verbal, there's nonverbal communication as well. There's directional communication, like the honeybee, right? They're picking up on vibrations and sensations. Yeah, Ashley says, yeah, I struggle with. I do too. And sometimes there's certain people you struggle with communicating with more than others, right? So this card would be inviting us to improve our circumstances and our experience by improving our communication and our give and take with others. It's kind of like learning how to play well in the sandbox. I won't say nice, right? But kind, how to be kind and to set the tone that way. And as a leader, in life, as a leader, as someone who is aware of these vibrations and these energies that we're going through, reciprocity is important and you're setting the tone, right? And we definitely have the masculine peering through this here. And we've got that beard. So wisdom is implied here as well. But we have to be willing to take the action to do the thing, right? Let's get another card here from the Elemental Oracle. Whew. Got a lot of things flying today. Blackhawks, helicopters, planes. What would the Elemental Oracle, like the group who resonates with coral, to know today? Oh, I actually like this. You got the number 2 card, and it's adventure, and it's connected to the direction south. Raise your hand if, like me, Jason and Nicole, you're going to have an adventure that would carry you south this year sometime. All right, we're taking a trip. A few of us. That's going to be a good time, right? And it's adventure, and it's about treating this, what you could look at as a burden, right? Remember that masculine lack mentality from the collective reading? What you could perceive as a burden, you could also perceive as an adventure. In the Lord of the Rings movie, which one is it? Return of the King? Once they've Treebeard is carrying two of the hobbits. So Treebeard is like a living come to life tree. And there he's called an Ent, E-N-T. And then there are Entwifes, E-N-T-W-I-V-E-S, right, in the Tolkien lore, right? And in the movie, though, they added this line. I'm not even sure if it's in the book. I'd have to go back and read. But he's carrying these two hobbits, and they're traveling to a place called Isengard. And I don't want to get too deep into the story, but Treebeard is carrying them, and one of the hobbits says, "We need to turn south. We need to go south. That's where we've got to go." Because he sees from the perspective of being high in the tree limbs that there's something that they need to do, and he has an intuition, and he says, "We need to go south." And Treebeard, for a moment, seems a little confused, like, and then he thinks about it a moment, and then he says, "Okay, we'll go south," and he talks really slow, right? Because he's a tree. He's like, "I've always liked going south because it feels like walking downhill for some reason," right? So, this is that energy of, yeah, we might be carrying a heavy burden, but let's remember the adventure in it. Let's remember that it can be like walking downhill. We need those moments where we get a rest, right? Where we get that downhill. Maybe we felt like we've just climbed to the precipice of a mountain and we get that perspective, and then we can go downhill for a little while. Life is hills and valleys and ins and outs and cycles and ups and downs, right? And so sometimes you're going to be on the upswing, on the harder climb, and sometimes you're going to be going downhill. And so there might be a little reprieve coming in for those of you who are really working on closing out this cycle and carrying these heavy energies. It feels slow. Again, I feel the slow burn in that 9 and 10 of wands. I feel the slow burn in the coral coloring, right? But that doesn't mean you can't treat it as an adventure. You can't set your perspective to be more balanced for you, to be more in line with the energies of what's going on right now. Wow, that was really cool energy. Thank you, Group Coral, for tuning in and being willing to receive some of those messages. I think it's very interesting and important, some of the things that came up. And especially on the challenges of the masculine and the challenges of the feminine, that really seems to be kind of an underlying thread here. And for you all to be open to hearing and receiving the messages, I think is amazing. We're going to transition into the Aquamarine group here. So remember, the aquamarine color is kind of that. You're not sure if it's green, you're not sure if it's blue. It's a soft and gentle color. And we'll see what the vibe is. I'm definitely getting the word carry. Like there's something about being carried. So in this last reading with Coral, we saw like the 9 and 10 of wands, right? And it was like you're carrying a lot of responsibility. This one feels more like being carried, and I'm getting like being carried by water. So there may be some more emotional. My nose is starting to run. More emotional energies coming up in this group, but we'll see. All right, we need the highest and best messages for our Aquamarine group today. What do they need to know about these current energies, this collective energies, and how they can best navigate their life? Okay. Wow, I didn't get any cups yet, but this is interesting. I do feel that, and I was kind of feeling this in the last reading with Coral, where perspective shifts are important, and I think that's going to come into play here as well. So, Group Aquamarine gets the 7 of Wands. Okay. Now, this has a little, looks like a hamster sitting on top of some hat boxes holding the one wand while all these other wands are down at the bottom. Oftentimes, and I think sometimes, group Aquamarine, you might be slipping into defensive energies. And I do this. Has anybody just ever just felt defensive? Like you've just been in a place with your nervous system and with your emotions that like anything coming at you, you feel like you have to defend, where there's like it kind of slips into that energy of listening to respond rather listening to listen, right? It's kind of that debate kind of energy. I know I feel that sometimes, and there's an element of that here. And it's about being able to climb to the top and recognize when you might be slipping into those energies. And it could be a number of things. You could be in pain, physical pain causing that. You may need distance. Anna just said I have to remove myself. Yes, you may need to remove yourself from conversations or situations or social media or whatever it is, and regain a better vantage point, a healthier vantage point for yourself with the 7 of Wands here, right? You have to remember the connection to the wand that you hold now. You've previously held these 6 wands, but now you're on the 7th. And if you have any opportunity to move into an evolved state, you have to take the high ground. You have to take the higher perspective here. And so that's what the 7 of Wands shows us. But we're going to acknowledge that sometimes we feel defensive. And when we're in those energies, those are real. They very much come into a place of where it's connected to ancestral, it's connected to past traumas. And sometimes that energy of feeling defensive can be misplaced. And I'll use myself and my partner as an example. Sometimes I'll get in those energies and he'll say something super helpful and I'll kind of argue with it. Has anybody done that? Kind of argue with something that when someone's intention is to, I have this one hair just like, woo, sticking out. This is an issue for me. Like, so sometimes I'm just automatically going to the reasons why something won't work or why I can't bring his idea into my heart and like check it out and see if it fits for me, right? And I have this defensive reaction. Now, I'm kind of in my chart, this is all over my chart. I have this rebellious energy. I'm Aquarius rising. I don't like being told what to do. So if I have any kind of perception that's grounded in a past trauma of like maybe being told what to do by my parents that wasn't in alignment with what I wanted to do, maybe circumventing my own inner wisdom to do what I think society wants me to do. I've done that. Anybody else done that? Done what you think you're supposed to do, right? And so some of you may be carrying that energy. And truly and completely, I don't like being told what to do when someone is being bossy. But for me to then push away energies and ideas that are coming from a loving, intentional, and helpful place, that means I have a trigger somewhere. And happy 11/11. Some of you just experienced 11/11. Yes. Yeah. So sometimes we have to take ourselves out of situations. Sometimes it's that realizing that the people or the commenters or whoever holding those other 6 wands, they do not have the vantage point that you do or that I do, right? They do not have that. They do not have the capacity to be in that place, to see things from that perspective yet. And so there's kind of an understanding with this card where we come into the place of, okay, I have to take the high ground. Maybe I've become aware that I'm operating out of a past wound of some kind. I'm feeling activated. I like using the word activated instead of triggered, right? But I'm feeling activated. This has pressed on something for me. And I need to be self-reflective. I need to go up to my happy place here. I need to take the high road. If that's removing myself, then that's what it is. And I need to just sit with this. I need to sit and contemplate this for a moment. Now, here's the energies of being carried and flow in the flow that I was really feeling. So we got the Empress. Interesting how the Empress energies are coming up. And we have this poodle, and she's all gussied up, and she's got her little pomegranate shirt on. She's got her little bows on her hair, and there's all these little bunnies, like, her little Oompa Loompas here that are coming, maybe bringing her cozy pillow, maybe bringing her a footstool, right? In what ways can you allow yourself to be loved and nurtured and cared for, even when you are activated, right? So when we're activated, we kind of start to get in this energy at times where it starts to spiral, and our garden all of a sudden becomes a little stormy, doesn't it? It's kind of like a rainstorm or thunderstorm or something, and it kind of becomes cloudy and uncomfortable, and the birds quiet and everything kind of gets dark. And that's kind of the energy I'm feeling here. But the Empress would invite us to come into the sun again, to come back into the light, and to maybe open up to receiving a little bit of care, a little bit of care for ourselves, letting ourselves, maybe it's just resetting the nervous system through some breath, or what I'm seeing too is like a bath or some time in water, because water has that buoyancy. Swimming might be healthy for some of you. I know outdoor swimming is becoming more and more possible as the months pass here where I'm at. But maybe you have an indoor place that you can swim. Maybe it's getting to the ocean and allowing yourself to float. Flotation. I know there's also the sensory deprivation, the float. Like here in Kansas City, we have Float KC. That might be something that if you can get to something like that. Maybe it's laying on a soft couch or mattress and just feeling what it feels like to let your body be supported by those soft cushions. The Empress likes her little soft cushions. She has her little heart-shaped cushion here with the female sign on there. Okay. So giving yourself that, gifting yourself that in those moments where you feel like you've snapped into a defensive place. And it doesn't mean it's not justified, but maybe you just need a moment to figure things out, right? Removing yourself and getting reset. And then we have the Six of Pentacles, the Six of Coins in this deck. And this is a much more balanced energy. This is those Libra scales again. The Six of Pentacles does remind me of the Justice card where things begin to balance out, right? And so here we are seeing more of an equal exchange, more of maybe a little twist on that reciprocity that the Coral Group got, where we're seeing that we can make the decision about where to put our energies and where we feel most balanced. We don't have to keep entering into imbalanced situations, though, right? If something is truly out of balance, and time and again the pattern has shown us that something does not match up there. I got an itch in my ear, and somebody just is going to the front door to try to solicit something, even though I have a no solicitation sign. It's okay. I will give them grace. It's okay. Sometimes they can't see it, but I think he'll probably quickly be there and then walk away. And it might be to do with who knows what. I know my house needs work. Okay, we know. I will find the right person when the time comes. But here we have, this is where you are able to give and receive in a more balanced way. And certainly when you heal any trauma connected to why you feel defensive, that's going to be a part of it, right? That's going to bring you into a balance. This is a minor arcana card, though. So for Aquamarine Group, I really feel like we have some work to do here. And I'm going to throw myself in here because I feel this. I do have some work to do here before I feel like I can be in that place, especially if you're someone who's sensitive and you're perceiving energies before you do words. Like sometimes there's situations, and some of you might have this too, where the words haven't even been spoken, but you feel the energies ahead of the words. Jason and I were just talking about this last night. And then so you have this extra information that you're getting before words have even been spoken. And for people who are highly sensitive, that can really come off intimidating to other people. And so you will see sometimes their defenses go up because they know that you know before things are even spoken, right? And that can be a little uneasy for people at times. And some of you have that ability. And so you're trying in your mind, in your heart, you're trying to file all this information appropriately. It can be a little tough. So I think we have a little work to do here before we feel like we're more balanced in these energies, and keeping in mind that you've got to give yourself grace because you're working through a lot of distraction as well and constantly clearing out that kind of energy. So I want to look at this Six of Coins a little bit more. So how can group Aquamarine improve their relationship to this balance and to releasing defensiveness and to removing themselves or relaxing into their own energies? What do they need to look at? Yeah. And we have, it's interesting how these breakout sessions, they have like overlapping vibes. We got the 9 of Wands for this group as well. Remember, this has to do with ancestry. There we go. Ancestry, wounding in the family, childhood wounding, okay? It's the energy that causes you to feel a bit more cautious in life or a bit more sensitive about what people are saying or how they're behaving. And you can see him, he's amidst 9 wands. It's almost as if he's hiding or even cowering behind this one wand. And that's what trauma does, right? It's very hard to respond to even the helpful information that's coming in and the well-intended information that's coming in when in the past there is some activation that connects up to the present, whether it be, like, for example, if you were maybe abused by a man, it may be very hard for you to receive any kind of helpful information from a man, right? Or vice versa. If your mother was particularly abusive, we see this happen. We see this happen with women and men where they become anti the other gender, right? The opposite. And they get into those energies and they get more cautious, and then they really struggle with relationships to do with men or women, depending on what their experience was. It could have been a teacher that was particularly cruel or mean or made fun of you in front of the class. These things happen, and our young minds are so impressionable that we're reading the energies and not really understanding, oh, that teacher, wasn't, they were a young soul, they weren't as evolved as me, they didn't know, they didn't have the sensitivity, they haven't been through those cycles yet, and there's no judgment there, they just weren't there. But our young minds are seeing that person in an authority role, and so we become a little reluctant to that archetype from the perspective of our wounding and our trauma. And so we've got some work to do. We got the 5 of Pentacles here. 5 of Pentacles is about feeling left out, feeling awkward, feeling like the black sheep, feeling ostracized by society, by community, feeling like goes into that lack mentality. This can be connected to that. The 5 of Pentacles, there's not enough. I'm going to be abandoned. A lot of people will end up abandoning themselves because they fear being abandoned by others. So they abandon themselves first as a defense mechanism. Remember, we're dealing with defense here as well, feeling defensive. It's getting very windy here. Oh my goodness. Everything is blowing here. Okay. And so I'm just holding tight to all these cards. I don't have a rock for every card deck here, but I'm going to try to weigh a couple of them down that are a little finicky. Okay. So yeah, we're up against some healing here. So group Aquamarine, remember we got to be gentle with ourselves. Okay. You don't have to force yourself into healing, But it is time for you to ground yourself for sure and get grounded in something that is healthier for you. And this also feels like an energy of overcoming material and financial obstacles here. So that's implied as you do the healing on your triggers, as you do the healing on your activations, the ways that you feel defensive, you become more and more grounded. And all of a sudden, things in your material world start working out. So, for my example, if I can just be calm and understand that my partner is excited about something and he's trying to inform me of something that he thinks will help me, he's not trying to tell me what to do. Even if he uses the words, you should do this, that's activating for me because of my parents, particularly my mother, right? And so that's activating for me. And so there's the invitation here to really come into these energies and sit back, be with the trauma, be with the wounding, heal it up, and then allow that to reflect in your external world, allowing that to reflect in your external world, okay? So that's what the King of Pentacles is. Things start coming to the King of Pentacles, things that the King needs, things that are resources, right? So we're looking at, if we focus on this healing, if we choose to do that, we're looking at the resources changing for us, which I think is beautiful. All right. We're going to go back to the Divine Animals Oracle. I just love this one so much. And for our Aquamarine Group, we're going to get a card. This one came right out. Ooh, and I like this. I think this is a nice card to enhance the King of Pentacles. We got the 44. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 is the number of abundance. So there's stability and abundance. And we got truth with the jackal. Now, this is a very intense card. It's got that, ancient Egypt kind of feeling, like the animal heads, right? Some of you may have connections to that or curiosities about studying Kemet or Egypt in that area of the world. All right. And that's a whole interesting rabbit hole to go down. But this is about truth. And this is about understanding how you can shift the reality around you by shifting the reality inside of you. And that would be in this particular reading, in this particular case, by being willing to go into that wounding and be honest with yourself about it, be truthful with yourself about it, and then be able to do something about it. And whatever time you need, removing yourself from situations and people while you work on this, that is okay. That is absolutely what you're supposed to do until you can get a clear read for yourself on whether those situations and people are ones you want to continue to engage in, or if you don't want that to be a part of your reality anymore, or that doesn't contribute to you feeling in that abundance that you want to be in order to attract in a healthy manner. Okay, let's get an elemental oracle as well. We haven't had any, knock on wood. I need wood. I have a pencil here. The noises haven't been too crazy. I mean, they've been working on the sewer out here earlier in the week and they were pounding. I had like a cluster migraine for 3 days. I had it on one side, and then on Tuesday night I did my live, and then because I felt better, and then the migraine moved to the other side of my head. Y'all, it's rough. It's rough when those things are going on, and trying to work with that energy, and then they're using their big machinery to pound in the ground in the morning. I'm like, no noise, no noise. Ooh, and this is a beautiful compliment to the truth and the intensity of the jackal. This is a softer card, number 13. 1 plus 3 is 4. So this Aquamarine Group. It's really about you stabilizing your own energies. And you got solitariness, or being in solitude, and the desert. And this is what Anna mentioned. Yes, then I have to remove myself. Yeah. But look at, she's sitting on a swing. She's in the desert. She's found maybe the one and only tree. Somehow there's birds there with her, right? And she's going to reflect on this for a while. She's going to maybe swing a bit, right? And kind of let the air element assist here. I definitely feel like the wind and the movement of the wind against the skin, maybe carrying away some of the debris of the trauma, of the wounding, right? Because you're releasing it. We're upon a full moon here tomorrow. We're releasing here. So maybe this would be, for this group, a more private experience, this full moon. Okay. So if there's a community gathering or something, maybe you opt for a more private experience rather than, yeah, I'm getting that. Might be more difficult for you to be a part of a community experience right now. And that's okay. Sometimes we just have to reset on our own, and then we can find our way back into the community again. Okay. And I think that's where we're going to leave this one here. Powerful energy once again. Hopefully relatable to you. How y'all doing? Are you still here? Drop an emoji, a comment. How's this feeling before we move on to the gold reading? Let me know while I resort these cards. We're going into the color, the vibration of gold, the golden energy. Very beautiful energy. Ooh. All right. Let me know how you're doing, y'all. I know sometimes there's a lag here. So sometimes I'm looking for comments and then I get going and then the comments come in. But I see people are here. I see somebody's still here. Kimberly resonates with the Aquamarine. Thank you for the detail. Yes, my pleasure. You know, here's how I feel like these situations work here. And I'm kind of saying this at the end of the Aquamarine, the beginning of the gold session. But as you all show up for these live sessions, the likelihood of me tuning into the energies that you are dealing with are going to be higher. And I always set the intention that these readings are to help the people for the highest and best good, the people who will be on the live, the people who will watch the replays. That's whose energy kind of comes forward the most. Ashley says, I'm here. It's deep and something I'm going to review and take notes on. Yes, Ashley has been doing a brilliant job of journaling and writing. It is so therapeutic to be able to put your thoughts onto paper and really get some of that out of your system that way. It's a beautiful thing you can also blend into a full moon ritual for yourself. Shireen, hello. How are you? Oh my goodness. Good to see you. Yes, I know sometimes when we get into these readings, you're thinking of all the ways that it affects you personally, and you're starting to like, okay, make plans on what to do. So sometimes like the chat will quiet down a bit, and that's okay. That's where I just want to make sure you're all still here. Okay, we're going to get into gold group now, and we're going to pull some tarot cards for our beautiful gold group and what they need to know. So it's the vibration, the color gold, the shimmer, the shine. Remember that little something my daughter used to watch, Shimmer and Shine, those little cute little things. She likes dainty, cute. She's a Libra. She's a Libra. She loves these dainty and cute things. All right. So our golden group, what are you dealing with? So here we are. We're in all these collective energies. We're navigating everything, right? Very focused on the truth. I'm not surprised with when I think of gold and I think of a trophy, for example. I think of winning. I think of pristine energy. I think of justice. I think of truth. And so really this group, more than the other two, may be focused on not just what is true for you personally, but also what is truth, period. What is truth in general? What is truth for the collective? What is true for evolution, right? And these are big energies. We got the elephant again. I love how the Libra energies are really coming up strong, and we're upon this Libra full moon, right? Nicole's here. Hi, Nicole. I'm still here, just can't be as active. I understand, because I know you're doing dishes and different things like that. So, and that's what I'm probably going to be doing today. I got to catch up on that stuff. But yeah, justice and truth, and weighing your own personal truth against what is true in general. What's true as far as alchemy, the laws of alchemy, the laws of the cosmos, right? That natural law vibe is coming up here. So I feel like this group may be working with that. Some of you may also be really interested in uncovering truth or getting to the bottom of things, I feel kind of like a bit of detective, but a bit of kind of nerdy energy in a good way, right? Of like where you like to get in and figure things out. You like to get to the heart of the matter. You like to get to the truth. And that's indicated also here with the Knight of Cups that you got. So we have our little badger or beaver riding the seahorse here. The Knight of Cups is going to be a more active energy, but instead of the activity coming from the mental space, this activity comes from the heart. This is possibly action based on emotions. So some of you may be really informing yourself as to what is true based on your emotional body. You have that emotional intelligence here. Definitely feeling that for this group. And I do feel like elephants in particular, very emotionally intelligent creatures. So I'm really liking that vibe as well. And the seahorse is it's delicate. It's understanding how to communicate and navigate these very challenging energies of getting to the heart of the matter, but do so in the loving and delicate way that you can choose to do, right? It's a choice to operate from the heart. It can be in our very busy world where things are very mental and action oriented from the mind, like you have a thought. How many times do you get something inspirational, like an inspirational thought, and you just start rolling with it? Or do you take a moment to sit with that and bring that thought into your heart and see how you feel about it? Now, some of you may do this simultaneously. That's just your nature. It's how you process information. But other people, we live in such a mentally focused world, and so much of our attention is mental that there may be these times where we have to focus a bit more on dropping into the emotions, dropping into the heart, and relating how we feel about things, right? Especially as we're sorting through information, because we may have activations in there as well, right? We may feel a certain way about that, right? And it can kind of really come up for us when there's very polarizing information or energy, right? We have to really be able to sort through that, not just mentally, but also from the heart. Nicole says, well, they aren't my dishes and stuff. I get it. I know. You're working. You're working, girl. Yes. So let's consider that as we are digging into things and as we are getting to the heart of the matter, getting to truth, that we do bring things down into our heart and check out how our emotions feel about it, right? Now, this group of gold too is also giving me an indication that they would like things to be a little bit smoother sailing, right? And this may be something you're trying to create in your own life. To me, I feel like in this energy, there are some of you who have gone through either very difficult endings to relationships or very difficult transitions and shifts in relationships. and you're really looking to have a better balance moving forward. I know this comes up for me personally in my astrology and my blueprint. Um, it's very difficult for me to establish smooth relationships. When I was younger, I went through a lot of karmic learnings and such, and all of the little astrology apps and charts and say things say, hey, you're going to have an easier time in the second half of your life. And I'm finally here, almost 50 this year, at the second half of my life. And this is definitely something I crave. I would like relationships to be smoother. I would like to have a bit calmer water. I feel like I've learned a lot, you know. I feel like I'm kind of done processing the karmas I needed to process, right? So some of you are really in this place with this energy, and you're allowing yourself to be carried into shore. I feel like these little bunnies here are headed to shore. Some of you have children that are involved. We've got our kitty cats sitting in the tree, kind of watching over, and one is sleeping and one is watching. So one's on watch and the other, I feel like they're the little gatekeepers here. Um, that could represent a little bit of Leo energy there too. But we're still moving. We're caring for what we need to care for, but we also have like our rower here, our gondolier, or whoever, you know, whoever, whatever you call the person that rows the boat. So this could be allowing ourselves to be carried in different ways, much like I felt what was going on in that previous reading with Aquamarine as well. That similar kind of vibe of like, all right, I feel like I've done a lot of work. I've learned so much. I would like to maybe enjoy this ride a little bit more here. Let's look into this Knight of Cups energy, because I really want to go deeper into connecting with the heart space. And I know, you know, I've heard it talked about different ways, your heart, soul, essence, your heart core. When you're really feeling it here in the chest area, some of you, I know, especially around 2020 when everything went down, did anybody else have weird chest pains, unexplainable? I think even once I went and got like an EKG and I was fine, but it was just like there was so much activity going on in that space. Um, and you know, I tend to get those little intercostal in between the ribs, those muscles sometimes cramp. Have you ever had that happen and you're like, am I okay? Do I need to go get like put a heart monitor on or something? But it really is just those muscles kind of, you know, firing and cramping. I mean, I've had two kids, so all of that has been stretched and pushed and shoved and all of the things, right? So there's that too. There's that too. That and I'm seeing for some of you, what's that called where the muscles pull apart in the abdomen? Abdominal work might be really good for you right now, not just only building the muscles there, but also healing, abdominal healing or massage of some kind. Make sure you go to a very reputable person if you're going to do that, because it is very intense and very personal. So how do we get into the heart? Maybe what needs to be released here? Whew, my. So I feel like for group gold, this is a little bit tricky. And look how some of these energies are coming up again and again. Those of you that have been listening to all three readings and you see the Two of Pentacles again, you're like, oh, there's that weeble wobble, there's that wishy-washy, you know, there's the hills and valleys again that we're experiencing. This is coming up again. So the more you see it, the more it's impacting the collective and possibly even those of you that have been listening. I really get the sense for this group is that you're very sensitive to the ups and downs in the collective, right? Feels to me like you have a little bit better grasp on your own personal thing, which is good because that's where your control is at. Like you have control and authority over your own decisions, your own alchemy, your own processes here. But this is the tendency to get a little affected by the collective. You may need to protect yourself a bit more from the energies, doing a little bit more energy clearing or energy protection of some kind, during this time is what I get from this card for this group. All right. Now, there's also a sense in this Five of Swords. So this card is typically a four. No. Rewind. I got to rewind in my brain here. This card is typically representing like a conflict of some kind. I feel a sense of nostalgia in this card, though, this time for this particular group. I think there is some looking back on things, maybe even looking back into ways you were hurt or things that happened. Yes, but also a nostalgia, just like I've talked about today. I think I've said several things. Like I was talking about Babar, those books, the with the elephant Babar, and I was thinking about the Weeble Wobbles and some things from childhood. I feel like there's this sense of nostalgia it's important for you to look at what that is, that's symbolic for you. So if there are little things from your childhood, and not even necessarily bad things, but just things you remember, there's all kinds of, things that your childhood mind processed and maybe thought was important. Maybe it was a toy or a stuffed animal or something like that. That bit of nostalgia is really coming up for you, and I think it's going to help, actually, in this case, you come into that balance. Again, there's a big calling in all of these readings for us to come into an energy of balance. And here's, again, is that Six of Pentacles. We had the Justice card, the Two of Pentacles, the Six of Pentacles, all cards that have repeated in two or more of these readings, right? And Blaze is pawing at me right now, trying to get up. Dude, you can come up on your snuggy bed. Come here. Come here. No. Well, you gotta come here. He wants me to pick him up, but it doesn't make it easy. There you go. Now you're on your bed. I have his little bed right here. So, but if he gets on my lap, everything goes crazy. So I know he wants to. Now you sit down. Sit down. It's a good boy. Yeah, just relax. And so coming into this balance through nostalgia may be helpful for some of you. I just feel like there's something there. So whatever pops into your mind, or maybe you go through a box and something, you pull up something from your childhood, spending a little time, how you feel about that. Remember, you had the Knight of Cups here. So how do you feel about that? And what does that mean for you? Let's get a card from the Divine Animals Oracle for our group gold here. Oh, and look, the cover card and the cover of the box is the Snow Leopard, the Watcher, and you got the Watcher 15, number 15. For those of you like working with numbers, 1 + 5 is 6. We just came out of the five of Swords, the Six of Pentacles here. So maybe working with some of these numbers, coming out of places, reclaiming. I really get a sense of reclamation here. Watching, and look how there tends to be these circular cycles behind the Snow Leopard. Looking at the different cycles, I feel like this is a past, present, and future card. And somehow you're experiencing this all at once, all at one time, past, present, and future. Okay? And this is not just how you think about past, present, and future, but how you relate to it. How you relate to it on a more multidimensional level. So, very interesting. There are very intriguing kind of intellectual pursuits implied here, but there's also coming into a knowing about what this means for you. And so some of you may benefit from doing a little bit of a past, present, future reflection during this full moon if you came into this energy. Okay? And Anna said, yep, you had pelvic floor therapy. I did that as well. I feel like I could probably spend all day, every day in some sort of therapy or stretching my body. Okay. I love stretching. My goodness. I feel like I could do that all the time. But we also are living and doing things, right? So, but yes, pelvic floor therapy for women, huge help. It does help quite a bit. I made a lot of progress doing that as well. All right. So we've got our snow leopard here. We're like going multidimensional, past, present, and future. Some of us may be going into reflecting on that for the full moon tonight, tomorrow. You know how it goes. What else do we need to know? Ooh, how interesting. We got several directions this time, the south, and now we have the north. This is the number 1 card, and it's about expansion. And I'm going to pull up this snow leopard card again because there's a lot of circle and spherical shapes in both of these. And there's something implied about that circle and about the cycles here. It's giving me a very Wheel of Fortune vibe, these 2 cards, okay? The for the snow leopard, the Norns in Norse mythology, history, let's call it. This is the Norns weaving the fates that weave the experiences that we have, okay? And so there's that. There's that going on, and I'm feeling that Wheel of Fortune vibe. But here, north, understanding it more, and I hope it kind of comes out in this card. You almost have to imagine it like a spiral coming out toward you. And look, we kind of have a spiral like aurora coming down as well. So it's working with this energy. And I feel like this may be good. Now, what's happening here is there's a woman on a boat, and there's her head, and out of her head here, all of these bigger circles are forming, kind of like a rock in a pond, right? Where the circles vibrate out. This is Jupiter energy for those of you who might work with the planet Jupiter or want to look at your chart and see where that's at. Some of you, through the release that you're doing this cycle, this full moon, are going to be expanding into something new. Tressa says, Gold Girl here, I'm in a state of paralysis by analysis. Yep. So this is spot on. Yeah. Because in order for us to do the expansion, we have to be present with these multidimensional aspects of the self. And this is also really hard to see. And I think it's the first time I've ever noticed it in this card, but there's like a Leonian. It's like a cat person face up here, and it looks very like, it kind of gives me like a Hindu vibe, but it's a cat. So some of you now, have you ever worked with embodying an animal? And I know there are artists that draw animals. Sometimes I think there's a Japanese artist. I got to find this guy again. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But when he would paint the pictures of the animals, he said he did so from the perspective of the animal. And so he would become the animal. And so maybe a little meditative state connecting in with the energy of the leopard itself. And its beautiful markings, its beautiful colorings, and what information it may have to help you expand here. This could also be representing for some of you really pointing yourself in the direction of your true north, really finding your compass, your inner compass, from finding that true north, you can then move forward in a powerful way for yourself. So that's also coming up for this group as well. Wow, super powerful energies that we have going on. I'm going to do the closing musings here. This is what I call it in the timestamp, the closing musings. Trying to write down the numbers so I remember them correctly. I want to thank everyone who came here, who participated, who commented, who has become a part of the creators community in whatever capacity that you're able to. I certainly enjoy doing these lives and being in community with you. And for those of you who are looking for a little more solitude this full moon, you can say, okay, I've been a part, check, I've been a part of a community already. So now I give myself permission to go within and do my own thing for this full moon and be in that space of solitude that is feeling good. Don't forget that on 420, which is Easter or Ostara, as I like to call it. I will be live 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time for the live Q&A. If you want to come in and ask your own question in the live chat and get a little mini reading, that will be available. Chances are likely, I won't guarantee it, but likely that I'll be on Tuesday evening again. That was fun last time, so I may do that again and do like a little mobile impromptu live. And I'm going to try to be outside as much as I can before it gets too buggy, because once it gets buggy and mosquito-y out here, that's when I'm like, I got to be inside again. But it's so nice to be able to share a little bit of the nature vibes here and be outdoors with you. I don't know if you heard it, but actually, it's over this direction. A woodpecker energy was coming through. I love hearing that. I love hearing the different birds. We definitely have some excitement going on. Somebody's encroaching on someone's territory here, bird wise. Oh, they're fighting over my neighbor's bird feeder. I actually need to fill mine up. It's right behind me here. Yeah, it needs to be filled. So maybe do a little bird watching. Maybe that's in the cards for some of you. Again, be sure to like, subscribe if you haven't. I think most of you have, but if you haven't, subscribe, become a part of the community, enjoy what is offered up here. If you're interested in a personal reading, I always have those in the descriptions. If you'd like to donate just to, help support the channel and the growth, those links are also provided, and that is so much appreciated. I'm in deep gratitude for all of you, whatever your participation level. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a happy full moon in Libra, everyone.